We say where energy flows, there the heart goes, and it always guides you. I always say it's always about the right choice or the right place and the right thing. And if you really want something, then you will make it happen. And no other than a woman knows how to make it happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Be Your Own Boss. Our guest this week is Dr. Raina Khatri Tandon, the founder of Right2Rise, India's only ISO certified organization that's into women and child safety rights. Dr. Raina is a double PhD. She's a four times TEDx speaker and Right to Rise is into compliance, training, auditing, and consulting about women and child safety. Let's hear from Dr. Rena about her story, her journey. Dr. Rena, thank you so much for taking our time and joining us here on the Be Your Own Boss podcast. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to finally be here on the Be Your Own Boss podcast, and so much looking forward to add value on this podcast to your viewers and to all of us.
Yeah, I think this has been like we've been discussing about having this interview for a very long time, and finally, I'm glad that we are able to do it today. And
Indeed.
so, like we always do, Dr. Anna, on the Be Your Own Boss podcast, we always start with the journey, with the story from your childhood. So, tell us about your parents, your siblings, your childhood memories. Where were you born?
Okay, interestingly, when I was born, uh, I'm sure for all parents it's a very lovely moment. The name itself came as Rena because I was born in the early doors of evening, and Rena means evening or twilight. Uh, a little did I ask to my mom and dad how I was when I was young, but whenever I asked, they said you were very bubbly and cheerful. And people used to always have that fear of, oh, Rena's here, so something is going to be happening. So there's something that is either broken, or there's somebody who's been tapped on, or there's some kind of trouble that is always brimming when I was there. So obviously I was not as subtle as I look today, but yes, like all others, I'm sure we all have nice little family. I'm born and brought up. First, breaking the myth, I was somebody who was born in South India, though being a North Indian. So interestingly, that itself gives you so much of an insight that there's a change in our ecosystem, not that we are the traditionally born way. Yet we had a very extensive family coming from small thoughts and a very narrow driven family. Yet my parents were the first to break the myth that girls are not those who are to be kept indoors, but they are supposed to be outgoing as equivalent to boys. So I have been led and brought up by my parents equivalent to any boy, and they don't consider us any less than the boys wherever it comes in terms of situations, even till date when we have to take care of them. So that's a little bit about
Brilliant.
me. But yes, I'm a polyglot speaking 13 languages. So that brings in the next myth of the story that, wow, somebody who's North Indian, born in South India, traversed a lot of cities, also meeting a lot of people across the globe makes us very different. That's something that my parents have imbibed, continue the learning all the time and every time.
Brilliant. Wow. 13 languages, Dr. Rena. That's amazing.
Yes.
But by the way, as a child, did you aspire to be a business owner one day? Did you think that you'll become Dr. Raina Khatri the way the Dr. Raina Khatri that you've become today?
I think it would be shocking if I say I didn't really think that I would be a businesswoman, because it was not at all on my platter. I was supposed to be somebody who's very quiet, somebody who's not at all fashionable, somebody who's not at all in colors, somebody who's very simple, home driven person, simply sitting on her laptop with all her ponytails and her hair being put back, just like a very serious looking girl. But today, I see myself completely different face person, where I hold myself so confidently and I speak over a lot of international talks, having driving a company all on my own as a woman leader. And though I don't believe in the woman entrepreneur word, I believe entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs. Yet I feel very proud that sometimes women are kind of taken for granted, yet they do have it all if they make it one step at a time. Doesn't matter on how soon or how far, but it matters that we are still clinging on to be where we are, and we are sure on the goal that we want to hit. So yes,
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
forward
And
always.
it's a matter of also inspiration, right? Like when the reason why I like to bring a lot of women entrepreneurs on my show is also because this inspires women who are kind of hesitant to take that step. When they look at your story, when they hear your story, they get motivated to take action and then take that step. So this is fantastic. So tell us about like your the furthest like your schooling and your further studies, and how did you get go into your PhD and stuff like that.
So adding on to what I said, basically there's one thing that we need to remember, that um, women basically don't have attitudes, they have standards, and we have always kept that standard alive, that we want this, specifically in school. So I never chose the school because I was very young, and I'm sure no child gets to choose the school. But when my dad did ask me, what do I want to do post my 10th, that's where I said, I'd like to do engineering, where nobody had hit engineering in the entire family. Everybody comes from a business background, everybody comes from business management, and my entire father sibling gang, which is about 13 of them, okay, all of them are completely in business. So I was the first person to say, hey, I don't want to do business, I really want to know what is corporate life. Okay, so my education has been at one of the best schools in Chennai. That's where Jayalalitha also had come out, the great Indian leader of the South. And I have been very fortunate to be having classmates who have been celebrities, and they have been my classmates as well. Having said that, school has always been fun. It was never about being a star or being a LinkedIn voice or being somebody who's having LinkedIn followers as of today or being an influencer. It was all about those little moments that every child enjoys. And I
Mm,
think that time I was quite a soft spoken person. What I really looked into was completely a focused life of a student, where we are driven towards one goal, and that's success of knowledge.
mm,
Also said saying that, I think every time I strided to become more better version of myself, I never thought back about how other people are doing. So that was always there in me, and I always wanted to have a unique line of work. So when I started completing my 10th and then probably the 12th, the first area which I looked up is I would like to do something which is more difficult, and that's engineering. Once I got the engineering, I think there was a trend of probably people getting into the computer science, but unfortunately, I got an option of being on a scholarship at electronic and communication. So I still remember my mom says, I think you had sacrificed your CS and gone into an ECE. But I'm saying today I'm blessed, because if I was not in electronic and communication, I would not be a VLSI PhD. And that is the thing, because we know that AI is the thing to stay. So I think we say where energy flows, there the heart goes, and it always guides you. I always say it's always about the right choice or the right place and the right thing. And if you really want something, then you will make it happen. And no other than a woman knows how to make it happen. So, strong women, they stand up for themselves, they speak up what their mind says, and they don't hesitate about what other people think. What different my father and my mom would have done is probably not listen to everybody around them saying that why are you getting women so educated, when they have to kind of always hit the kitchen in spite of being highly educated. He said, I don't know what the future holds, but all I know that if I'm capable to make them stand up on what they wish to, then I'll go ahead and do that. So, my school and my colleging has been one of the most memorable moments that we enjoy. And post that, I think the journey of going to a college abroad was one of the first spectacular things that happened in my life. because I was the first girl in my family, the first girl in the city of Chennai among our culture to break the walls of the home to say nobody who has stepped out in the open, has never stepped out, maybe in a bus or a train, goes all the way, catching two flights of the Emirates, and being first time at UK without a mobile phone, without a laptop, because no mobile phones did exist then. So it is really weird when you have to sit across flying abroad, not knowing what brings to you, especially when your parents are not around to drop you off. It was a big thing about 25, 30 years back. Of course, today it's not a big thing because everything is so approachable on a Wi Fi button to you. But
Yeah.
it was indeed a very strange thing for me uh, to kind of take all the courage and still tell my parents, yes, I'll be okay to do it all on my own. And
Wow. So you,
then,
you went to the UK to study.
yeah, I did
What
my
was that
master's
study?
there. Yeah, so
Masters.
I
Okay.
post my engineering. I chose to do a VLSI chip design engineering, which is again a very alienatic word, whether it is man or woman in those times, because it was never heard of. It was just something which has come in newly. But today VLSI is more of designing chips and the foundation to all AI that we see. Fortunately, because I was scholarship qualified, I also went ahead and did my pursuance of my first higher degree of PhD, and that was at Scotland. But what
Mhm.
I can say is these are just luck by chance. At the same time, a lot of hard work that went into it. Nothing happens just by choice and by chance, but everything happens if you make and conspire the universe to make it happen, and it always comes by that one action that you've made. Okay.
Yeah. And tell us about like the journey after your PhD. So you did your first PhD, and then did you do your second PhD immediately after that, or did you take up a job? What was your next step after that?
Right, so going directly into it, I remember this one question that I had, that my dad asked, that will you be okay to go? And I said, if it was not me, then who? And if not now, then when? Okay. And I still keep that quote alive whenever I do something new, because if we are not doing it now and then what? After my masters and my PhDs, I was already working there at UK for some time, and of course, because we have studied so much, I had to grab some more time from my dad and tell him that I'd like to pursue a job there. So I pursued a lot of technology-driven jobs. I also did a lot of part-time jobs, and then came a time that after 2 years, I had to decide to settle down because I was the elder most of all the siblings. And no matter how much you get educated, I think the culture driven in Indian families is that if the eldermost daughter doesn't get married, then the others can't follow the trail. So I had to come back. I had to settle down, and during the course of which I think they did look out for me, and I did get a choice of making the choice of my husband. I think I was privileged to do that, which I guess a lot of people don't get in during those times. And once I settled, I came to this never wanted to come city, Mumbai. Okay, because people from small towns or from towns where things are safe would never find Delhi and Mumbai to be safe. But Mumbai was no different to a UK, and I'm sure UK is the most safest country across the globe. Where I say that there is crime rate, but probably in some of the areas, not in all, but still a safe city to move around even at 2 in the night. And so is Mumbai. People might say anything about the city, but I know for sure that if you are a businesswoman and if you are a no nonsensical person and you know how to keep yourself safe, Mumbai is the place to be. So whether you want to do business, whether you want to be a homepreneur, whether you want to enjoy the nightlife, or you want to be somebody who's just out there, you can just explore a lot with Mumbai, and it's a never ending place to be, where you can go ahead and explore opportunities and people, but it's all safe around. So you don't have to
Yeah,
worry
and
about. what
Yeah,
comes in
the
front.
city never sleeps.
City never
It's
sleeps.
always alive. Absolutely.
And do the
Yeah.
and so do the people. They never sleep too. So with setting my standards that everything around me is safe, I think females are the most beautiful thing, because a strong woman doesn't think about what, where, when to do. All she thinks is that one thing you need to be clear of is there is no stain in the face. There's a lot of respect what you do, and she always spreads a lot of magic as she goes. So if you keep those three things and raise your every foot with confidence and choice, I'm sure there is a lot your way. Okay. So that's what I was doing. And I'm sure the exploration journey that came in after that was, what should I do more? Because after having stayed abroad for so long and now settling down in Mumbai, I had to figure out first how I would be gelling in with the family. So I chose to kind of settle down, take some jobs which were very cool going, trying to understand how the family takes me in, even though we say that, educated families try and understand and they know that both husband and wife are working. I did have one side, my own family where I come from, which was very, very fast driven. And the family that I came in was very cultured and very, ethical and very uh, bound with lot of values and lots of formalities to go in terms of, the relationships. So I had to play
Orthodox,
my way
very,
around.
mhm,
Yeah,
very orthodox. Your
I won't say orthodox, but they do follow
mm,
certain rituals that probably are a little more looser in terms of following where I come from. Um, but over a period of time, I gave them time, they gave me time, and we understood each other. I think that's the space that every family or every family member needs to give on either ways. It cannot be one sided. It's not always that the women need to understand or the women need to nurture themselves in the. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult for a woman to actually bring out her own dreams. So I had to kind of speak it out to my family, speak it out to my husband, speak it out to my in-laws that, I've got dreams as well. I don't see myself only in the homemaker zone, because that doesn't keep me happy. And if you're not happy, then you can't give out everything that you have inside you. So
yeah.
I won't say
And
it's a
so did
very
you?
yeah.
Yeah. Did you take up jobs there while you were in Mumbai? I mean,
Yes, yes. So my first job in Mumbai was astonishingly. I did an immigration job. So I worked with one of the greatest immigration study abroad consultants. That's Canam Consultants. That was my first job over here, because my previous job at Chennai when I came back from UK was working at the VFS as an immigration officer at doing a lot of paperwork and providing VFS services for Canada, UK immigration people. So I had to kind of scrutinize their papers, do their essentials, and see whether they are competent enough to travel abroad. So I was at the
so
visa
you worked
section.
for
So
VFS Global.
yes, VFS Global. Good
Okay.
to know that you are
Yeah.
aware
Yeah.
of it. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was
I mean,
I was
if
one of the lead
anyone
immigration
wanting any
officers.
visa to any country knows VFS Global.
Absolutely. So VFS Global was the place where I was, and you had to get a
Right.
stamping from me before you move ahead. So I was at the immigration desk where all the papers after scrutiny were to come to me, and we had to be in between the embassy and the people who are applying for permanent citizenship, not on the student visa, but more on the permanent citizenship to Canada, UK, and Australia. So that was the first role that I played even here at Canam Consultants as the assistant manager. That was my first job at Mumbai. But sooner or later, I transitioned a lot of other jobs after a year, and again I traveled abroad, stayed at Europe for about 7, 8 years, where my child was born, and I've done a lot of other roles, from traversing from being a junior principal to going ahead and studying Finnish language, working for the biggest and the top event management company at Finland. Also, essentially being a evangelist at UN Grid Council, working for a lot of other ISKCON temple and many other evangelist churches because I was at Finland. And after 8 years, when we again came back to Mumbai, I was at a fix of thinking, here I am with a PhD in IT, with having an electron communication background, engineering, having done things in VFS, done a lot of things abroad when you are exploring. What does Mumbai want me to take up on now? So with a lot of time to unveil myself, just be myself, doing a lot of Mandela art, dot art, lot of painting, exploring with a lot of things of becoming a principal at my own child's school because my child was born abroad. So when we came back, he was about 6. So I understood that maybe the 9 to 5 job is not something I enjoy. Okay, because one, in the 9 to 5 job, you're so fixated to doing things like A for apple, B for ball, C for cat. And even if you want to explore and become more creative, the people or the structure doesn't allow you to go beyond. Okay, so you're so not out of the box, you're all in the box, or your people are trying to fit you
Confined.
in the box. Okay,
Yeah.
and I'm not somebody who likes to fit in the box. I like to create a box where every time people come out with their own self, they're exploring new outcomes, they're exploring new outways, they're exploring people, allowing them to outshine. And that's where the concept of probably thinking aloud of what I should be doing, what exactly does Rena want to do, and that went into a lot of contemplation. I took really 6 to 7 months to think about, hey, what is that I enjoy doing. Sometimes I used to really ask people, you know what, I've been hearing people saying that if you stand around just below the shower, you'll suddenly get a eureka moment. You'll find suddenly an apple falling on your head and you'll get, what exactly is you want to do, or what you call as a niche. And I said that if something like that had to happen, it has to happen when. And nothing like that happened, believe me. And one of the days I just opened a newspaper when I saw this advertisement of, just like we have success gyan, like that we saw something on the train the trainer. And it was somebody at Chennai who was doing a very extensive train the trainer program. And he had come to Mumbai to have his introduction seminar or a teaser seminar. And something struck me, what exactly is this trainer kind of material? I thought trainer has something to do with bodybuilding. I said, what is this to do with such a big half pager of Times of India? I started reading over it and it said, you have an introductory seminar all the way at South Mumbai. And I said, that's like 2 hours away from my place. Uh, but it was not erasing my mind. So I said, fine, let me relook at it. And I actually told my husband I just like to go in for this seminar. He said, why exactly do you want to do something like this? Okay, the first instant that came out from his mouth was, I don't think it's something very respectful. And I said, okay, let's look at it. Let's explore. I'm not really saying I'm going to do it right next, but let me just go in and see. And the entire context of whatever I thought just changed after that seminar. Believe me, it was one miraculous moment, or one moment of a lifetime, because I have been working with a lot of corporate houses, at least close to working with Texas Instruments, with IBM, with NatWest Bank, with Zara, many Sainsbury's, McDonald's when I was abroad. And this was at UK and at Finland with a lot of other companies. But little did I understand that sometimes life would take a turn. You don't have to really be sitting on a laptop to draw a 7-figure salary all the time. But yet, there is something inside you which always wants to bring out the best in you as what is called a passion. Very little do people understand how to combine passion with profession. Even though we say we are a passion to profession coach, or let me make your passion to profession, not everybody has a capacity to do it. That's where my journey of understanding myself, going ahead, exploring more, finding out more number of courses like that, and choosing that this one was the right one. Uh, it was a difficult decision to pull out a lump sum of a very big amount to do a train the trainer course, which was over a lakh and more at that moment. But with all the savings that I had and with all the choices, I said, no, I'm going to do this. That one day decision, and till date, I have never looked back.
Can you tell us a bit more about this Train the Trainer program? What kind of Train the Trainer was it?
Okay, so this is a very interrogative and a very interesting question. And I haven't spoken about this ever in any of my interviews, but this is one question that nobody has asked. So, interestingly, viewers, you must know that you have to find out which is this program and you have to know who is he. Uh, so, there was this guy called Dr. Rajan, and I insist to speak about him because even though the program has been something which has not been extremely great, but it was a time changer and it was something that impacted my life. At a moment of life where we don't know what to do, if there is a right kind of person and the right kind of bandwidth, every train the trainer that you see in the market at that time was nothing more than 3 to 5 days, okay, or the maximum 7 days. And it still asked you to provide an output of probably 2 lakhs, 1 lakh, something like that. This Train the Trainer program was a very extensive program for about 3 months. Okay, which said that we're going to equip you not only in the knowledge, but in the skill, but in the attitude, and a lot about what you would like to know about what are your USPs. And a lot of us don't even realize what doing a SWOT analysis gives us an intro sight into what kind of person we are. But going through a particular format of a course with a lot of other people tells you what you like, what you don't like, which kind of person you want to be, which kind of person you don't want to be, which kind of skill that you can imbibe and do it greatly fast. And that not only helps you understand what you should go ahead with, but gives you a niche clarity of the area zone that you'd like to work. You might be good at a speaking opportunity, but still you need to know what topic to speak. You might be good as a YouTuber, but still you would like to know what is the theme that you would like to YouTube to be followed on. So a lot of clarity came to me as a person. What kind of person do I hold? And that 3 months or 3.5 months was complete learning with a lot of activities with a variety of people, because I had a very young guy who was just a college goer, and I had a very old person who was equivalent to my dad or probably older to him, okay, who was doing that program, which actually gave me a very strange feeling that why is that even an old person would do it.
Yeah.
But it also opened out a lot of interesting opportunities that people who have nothing to do after 70 become speakers.
Well, I think,
Okay.
yes, they have a lot to
Yeah.
share about their experiences, and yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
because it's not about what they want to become, it's what they want to give out to the world. They don't see them seeing inside the box, and that inside the box went outside the box. I was like, wow, so this is the place that's not going to close my talent but make me grow beyond. It's going to help me connect with the right kind of people each time and learn from every new person that I encounter. You might be thinking this is just a podcast. But be your own boss every time encounters new souls, new talents. And in those new talents, we, you, and all the viewers get to hear so much that we learn from each other. So that is something that we are going beyond, exploring our own potentials every time, unlocking the greatest talent that we have in front of us. So that is what I wanted in my life. Beyond choice, beyond action, there has to be flavor, and that flavor has to come by a lot of souls across the world. So that was what I enjoyed during that journey.
Wow. And and how did the thought of starting Right to Rise come about? And tell us about that. Like, how did you start Right to Rise?
Okay, so that's a way ahead story. Uh, After
Okay, we'll
probably
kind
being
of
a
jump in
trainer,
then.
coach, mentor, I equipped myself into being a lot of other titles. So I became a coach. I am a qualified coach. I'm also a non-violent communication trainer, the seventh qualified in India, and lot many things. But what went in to becoming or exploring into Right to Rise was one simple thing that when we start doing something monotonously for a very long time, we forget that there has to be some structure in our growth. And during the course of becoming a trainer, coach, and mentor, I did understand that I had a lot of USPs and I continue to do it. So I explored myself first into women empowerment and then into leadership. And I trained a lot of CEOs, CFOs, a lot of leaders across, a lot of employees went ahead and did their OKRs, which is objective key outcomes, help their purpose in life, help to structure their businesses, lead their businesses to the next level, and get a lot of target driven. But somewhere there was what do you call an empty space of, okay, you went, you created the impact, you gave them all the success, you gave them the outcomes, you completed your task, and then you're back home. But when we talk as trainers, coaches, and mentors, the first work we say is creating impact, a lot of transformation. Okay. And the word transformation was going on hitting on my mind. What transformation did you do by just doing a training? You just go, you make a PPT, you share the content, you share your knowledge. What attitudinal change did you do? What transformation did you do? And how can people transform in just 24 hours? Not really, right? So the word transformation was hitting me time and again, and I didn't really know what. And it's like every day you come, you do your work, you go back. So it was like every day you come, pick up one of the companies, pick up a lot of bunch of people, go and talk to them, get the training out, explore different activities, and then come back. But what I didn't understand is what was the main purpose of my life. That's where I encountered with a lot of people, and there was one guy who has been my mentor for about the last 6 years. He said, I'd like to mentor you. And I said, why would you want to mentor me? I'm very happy doing what I'm doing. Okay, I'm earning a good, nice, lovely figure. I'm doing my own stuff. I'm the boss of my own life. What more do I need? He said, no, 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 this is not the way you work. I said, but I don't really need somebody. Why would I want somebody to come in my life when I don't need it? So he said, no, uh, think over it. And he pursued me for almost 3, 4 months. And finally, I said, okay, let me listen to what he has to say. So we got onto a call, and the call ended in 3 hours. And he said,
Three
I'd like to
hours.
mentor you. Yes, I'd like to mentor you. And I said, okay. And he went on explaining things. I went back and retrospected the entire thing. And it after really 6 months, Right to Rise came out. So actually, it meant that you can continue doing your same work, but unless it is not structured, then none of your systems are in place. In the verge of which, I think, just like a leadership training, time management, productivity, uh, personal excellence, what came on my plate was Posh. The day I did the first training, people liked the training. They said it's impactful. There were multiple situations and multiple stories that came up where people after the session walked up and said, look, I'm going through this abuse or this harassment. Can you help? And that's where I saw that I was just going to deliver something, but it meant much more for a person who's undergoing harassment, abuse, pornography, or any other such unwanted, unwelcomed sexual activity. Now I really didn't know what to do, and that's where the emerging of Right to Rise happened, where I seeked a high court person, I seeked a specialist who was in the field of law, and I seeked him as a mentor. So that's my second mentor, where he came into my life and I said, look, this person seeking some help, how do we go about it? And that was magical. How he entirely sought from not knowing the person to solving each and every situation to actually pulling him out of that entire problem. It was a process that was totally awestruck, where I said, this is what you are going and transforming people's life. This is where you're changing their pain into their pleasure, where you're actually removing the problem where they are stuck to something that they could have been in a better situation without um, removing their dignity, their respect, and standing up for the justice. Okay, that if maybe he's not done something wrong, but he's trapped in it. And that's where most of the men come from, because sometimes it's not about only the woman getting abused, sometimes it's the man also getting abused, and nobody believes them, nobody trusts them, because the only reason is that we've always seen A abusing B, and we've never seen the other part of it in real life. We only get to see them or hear them like, oh, it's a possibility, but a very rare possibility. But nowadays, those rare possibilities have become almost 90%, which then people have to re-look into and say, yeah, I think this is quite not a rare, but a most occurring activity. So that's
Mhm.
where the entire perspective of I'm not just going to train, I'm going to be looking at training, I'm going to be looking at compliance, I'm going to be looking at auditing, I'm going to look at how the mediation happens, how exactly we can pull out people, the reviews, the annual reports. That's where Posh came into our life. And we started structuring our systems. After some
Dr.
6 to 8 months, Right2Rise came out, and that was a registered
Yeah.
entity. Yeah.
Dr. Raina, sorry, I need to ask you this because you mentioned Posh, and not a lot of people, including myself, I don't know what Posh is. So can you explain that for us, for the audience, please?
Yeah. So, what exactly is Posh? Uh, POSH is nothing but Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act for Women at Workplace Prevention Prohibition Redressal Act 2013. This is a very important act and a legal act as per Government of India, where every woman who is working at workplace needs to ensure her dignity, rights, and safety at workplace. This is a mandatory requirement at every workplace. So, may it be a school, college, institutions, hospital, hospitality, or any of the manufacturing, pharma, IT, banks, NGOs, we need to enforce this law. That's where the three areas come into effect, that is preventing, prohibiting, and redressal. Every woman should have a dignified workplace, and no woman should be subjected to any form of sexual harassment, is what the government ensures. So, this is what the act is all about. And we should be really looking at all our companies, no matter you are an MSME, you're an SME, an OPC, an LLP, a big listed company in NSC or BSC, you must follow the compliances. It's easy for the government to make a lot of rules, regulations, and act. But as an ethical citizen, I always say no matter you are having a mask, no matter you are wearing the belt at the air flight or the belt in your car, everything has to be abided without questions. In India, we must understand it is not about why, it is about what for. It is about your safety and not anybody else's safety. So we should ensure that these laws are made, built, and followed. If they are being questioned, then all we can say is God bless you, because ultimately it's your decision and your safety and your productivity at stake.
Yeah. So with Right to Rise, do you, in under your company, do you help corporations? Do you help the businesses as well be compliant with these laws?
Yeah. So, a very good question. As of today, Right to Rise is broadened up into a lot of services. First, number one, because we are India's only ISO 21001-17024 accredited body, we have the credibility of setting up your systems. Two, if you're an SME, an MSME, or an incorporation where you need to understand whether you want to get yourself registered. If you're a small scale entrepreneur or a proprietor, you want to know which entity to go in, we help you registration the entity. Third, if you are in India, you also have to be MSME registered. We help you in that. Fourth, because we are taking care of compliances and specializing into POSH and POXO, human rights, cyber safety, fraud awareness, gender sensitivity, biases, stereotypes, and many other areas, we always say that it never starts with one intervention. It's always about the entire compliance kit or the kit to maintain safety at your workplace. It starts with training, goes up to creating committees, having your policies, forming the committee, skilling up the committee, doing your reviews, and finally the annual report at Government of India. Everything as a 360 degrees approach, as a bird's eye view, we take care and we support you. But the only thing that we require you is the trust that your system has to be ensuring the safety maintenance. Second, any of them can be picked up as and when you wish. It doesn't have to be all on your own. And when we say even policies, apart from just the POSH or the POXO policy, we also build any of the other policies at the legal and the HR end, which help you to set up and start with something as a foundation. Do not step away from the foundation, because no building stands without foundation. So you might escape it today, but it's not going to help you sustain till tomorrow. And when we talk about companies, there are many companies who have their setups not only in India but abroad. So we also support a lot of companies that are India based, but their sales office or any of the other offices are based in Singapore, Australia, UK, US, Dubai, Qatar, or many other places. We are also supporting a lot of other governments across globe to set up their policies because we understand some of the laws that happen across the globe as well. So
Brilliant.
if you are from another
So
country, you can reach out.
yeah. So, and that's exactly what I wanted to ask actually. That if for the people who are watching this, from the people in the corporate leadership, HR people who are watching this, if they'd like to reach out to you to benefit from the services that you provide at your company, so what's the best way to reach out to you?
Right. So if you'd like to reach out for any of the services, we have our email address. We also have our upcoming website, which is getting renewed with the new services. So our website is www.right2rise.in, and our email address is contact right to rise at gmail.com. And if you would like to contact the numbers, yes, my number is +91 720 80 177 1 5. We also have RKT Foundation, and we have a box, a query box, a complaint box. If you have any queries, any issues, please understand that we help you, but we need your consent for it. So, any query that comes to us first needs a consent and an understanding form to be signed. This understanding memorandum is signed as a legal document for us to understand that you are serious about taking action towards anything that you are coming to us for. No action can be taken if you are not supporting your own self to stand up for your voice. So please do understand, it's not about the money, it's not about the reaching out, it's always about first believing in yourself that you are right, and that is why you have stepped up to speak up for yourself.
And this is a concern at an individual level, right? Like imagine if an individual comes up to you and says that, look, I'm going through either some kind of abuse or a particular situation, but a lot of the times people are confused. They're not sure whether is it their fault, or are they the victim, or are they just creating this situation. Or sometimes people go through different it's a confusing situation for them, right? Does that happen in your, I mean, with you, when you encounter people like that?
Very often, we, in fact, almost every day and every second day, we do have people who call us and say, hey, we found your details online, we found your details on the website, we found your details on the social media, we would like to have this kind of help. They say, they start initiating and talking about a lot of instances, but then we stop them there and say, first we need everything in terms of your consent. Without consent, nothing is going to be taken. Secondly, because it comes under the legal provisions, we always maintain safety for everybody across, and we also want to ensure that you are really serious about filing, and this is no play game. Okay, and there is no space for malicious intent, no space for revenge intent, no space for power play, because this is seriously about somebody's life and also their family. We are not here to have any kind of allegations across any kind of parties to ensure that we are supporting the wrong. It's always about supporting the right person in the right way, and also the guidance of what are the different provisions of where they can approach. What are the different possibilities of you approaching the same situation, that we allow the person to choose. You can go ahead because ultimately it's their decision, it's not ours, and we are also not in the state of probably giving them the right choices, because at the end of the day, the choice is yours, the decision is yours, the action is yours, and the accountability is yours.
Absolutely, yeah, it is, and it's important that people understand that the responsibility that comes with, I mean,
Yes.
and be serious about, uh, you know, the action that's going to take place. So, looking at the, your journey here, right, and right from the little girl who wanted to do engineering to the kind of work that you're doing now, helping others, and all of this, right? you've transitioned in at many times, but you've transitioned from being an employee to being an entrepreneur, being your own boss, right? When you look at these two different lives like this, what do you think? What is it about being your own boss that you like over your previous life as an employee?
Uh, so the life has been really, really kind, beautiful. Like you said, sometimes I ponder back and I'm really surprised because the little girl who wanted to not come out of her own shell and was happy in her own space today outshines from designing chips to designing lives. Secondly, being not only a simple mother, a lovely wife, a caring homemaker, somebody who's somebody's daughter, daughter in law. I also wear very many hats like being a founder, being an internship head, being a NGO head, running my own foundation, being a 4 times TEDx speaker, being Forbes 30 under 30, being an Indian Achievers Award, being somebody at the United Nations Rex Karamveer Award, and now representing the UN and the UNICEF with regard to the role of human rights collaborative research, going ahead and exploring and writing my first book where I never thought I could be an author because I think that's the most difficult thing in life, but I still made it. Of writing my first international book and getting it unveiled at Bangkok at the United Nations Delegation Conference. I think I can just look back at life and just say thank you for every moment that has happened, including the podcast that we are on. Be your own boss. Uh, I guess life has instilled so much confidence in today that I need to be humble and grateful about. I may not have started off being my own boss, but today I am my own boss. And I'm sure
Wow.
everybody is their own boss because if they're not their own boss, then they don't know where they are lifting their anchor of their life. They're just riding like that boat where they started somewhere and they are midway, not knowing where to reach and put down their anchor. So, with this, I wish each one of them a lot of success. And if ever you get lost in this little boat of yours and you're looking back for somebody, don't hesitate to give a call because I'm just a call away. I'd love to pick up any of those people who are entrepreneurs or wanting to be entrepreneurs and who have been great leaders but not knowing where to start their entrepreneurial journey. There's one person who will always be aside you, and that's me, because somebody who's
Wow.
built from day one knows how difficult it is during the path. It only makes your life and my life more smoother rather than moving the little stones that come on your way. It would be more than a happy moment for me.
Wow, thank you so much for offering to help the people who are. I think this is very very important, and trust me, not a lot of people do what you're doing, Dr. Raina. Thank
Yes.
you so much, and thank you for sharing your journey and your story with us. And it has been such a wonderful conversation. There's so much that we learned about human rights, about safety, and about raising those concerns in the right way, in the right place. Thanks so much for coming on the show and sharing your story with us. Just one last thing before we conclude the show. I wanted to ask you, how was your experience being on the Beer on Boss podcast?
Be your own boss, rock your life. I think this was one of the most classic and the most enjoyable moments on this podcast. I just love being here. It was utmost pleasure and it was a great moment for me to share things that I probably would not have shared on every different podcast. But I truly believe that there's so much in us that we hardly remember or hardly look back on. With this podcast, a lot of my memories came my way and made me so very touched upon that if I have to just close my eyes, all I can say is thank you, God, you made all this happen. So I'm so much grateful to be on Be Your Own Boss, one of the most humble and beautiful moments of being here on this podcast. Thank you for having me. Such an honor to be here with you, Sachinji. And hopefully, you bring in many more beautiful souls that come and touch all the lives ahead across. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your journey with us. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that was Dr. Raina Khatri Tandon, the founder and CEO of Right2Rise. And you've been watching and listening to Be Your Own Boss.